Ah, Young Thug is going viral right now on all social media platforms. I seen it this morning on Instagram. For and it's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration Podcast, where we talk about prison, pre, post, and present, and how everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever changed my life. This is the incarceration. So first of all, I want to say free Thug, bro. By no means am I saying any of this in a negative way towards Young Thug at all. It's the exact opposite. And I think, viral content goes viral because a lot of times it's like shock, it's shocking moments. It's like shock value. It gets people's attention. So whenever people see like a celebrity crying in public or whatever, of course that's gonna go viral immediately, especially Young Thug facing all the time that he's facing in the courtroom, fighting for his life in his criminal case. Of course it's gonna go viral, overnight, which it did. I don't know anything about Young Thug's case. I'm not following it, just to be honest. Of course, I'm a Young Thug fan. But just myself as a fellow convict, I understand the pain and the real life, like, heartache of fighting your case. But not even to the degree in which Young Thug is facing, because obviously I'm pretty sure they hit him with RICO, racketeering. I'm not sure of his exact charges. Once again, I'm not claiming to be an expert, nor am I being involved or kept up to date with his case. I just want to specifically talk about him crying in the courtroom. And obviously, man, like a large portion of culture or street culture, or even just like an undertone in society, we can be taught as men that, like, men don't cry and suck it up and, don't show your weakness and, all of these things. But at the end of the day, bro, all that's bogus, bro. It's bullcrap, because the majority of people who say that, a lot of times they're the ones who've never really gone through some like serious heartache and pain and extreme life difficulties in life. So exactly for my point case right now, we're talking about Young Thug fighting for his life in the courtroom. Like, yo, like that's an extremely gut-wrenching feeling to be in a courtroom fighting for your life, knowing like the negative consequences that if you get found guilty may very well be 10 years, 20 years, 15, 30, 40, or a life sentence to where they're trying to throw you under the jail, especially when you're a celebrity and, the judge or just, the whole penal system and the criminal justice system may be trying to single you out and use you as an example because you are this big public figure, and they're trying to hang you to teach the rest of society, hey, this is not acceptable. So the whole point that I'm talking about today is crying in the courtroom, or just facing and experiencing pain while you're fighting your criminal case. And for the most part, man, a lot of guys who come from a street background, whether they're dope boys or robbers or whether they caught murder charges or whatever it is, like from the outlook of things, sometimes we can keep a really good like mask up, and we can have our wall up, and we can be very good at having a poker face on and acting as if we're unbothered and what we're facing isn't really like hitting us. But behind cry at night. You know what I mean? Not all of them, of course. Some people just have cold hearts, or they just are extremely numb and they don't cry, whatever the case may be. But using myself specifically as an example, I remember the last time that I was going to prison, I was arrested for aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer, fleeing and eluding, DUI. Some of those charges got dropped down to just like aggravated battery against a law enforcement officer, things like that. Long story short, what happened in my case allegedly was that I was in a high-speed pursuit and I accidentally hit a police officer with my vehicle. So anyways, I woke up in the hospital. This is in a nutshell. I'm not really going into the details of my case on this episode. If you want to know the details about my case, go back through the episodes. You can check them out. I'm going to continue to, unleash and, share a whole bunch of stories of my past prison bids, of course, which is a million videos already on the channel. channel, but specifically about my cases as well. So in this case, allegedly during a high-speed chase, I hit a police officer with the vehicle while during the high-speed chase. So I got in an extremely bad car accident during this incident, and I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. And I remember waking up in the hospital and there being three police officers in the hospital room with me. And I just remember I already been to prison twice before this, and I was only 23, so I was facing my third time in prison. And in the state of Florida, they got PRR and HVO. HVO is habitual violent offender, and PRR is like post-released something act. It's pretty much where you have a certain time window of so many years to where if you get, convicted of certain crimes, they can enhance your points times like 20,000, and you can face a whole bunch of time. So anyways, the whole point that I'm getting at about Young Thug crying in the courtroom and how I'm tying all this together is while I was fighting that case, man, like, yo, of course, from the outside perspective, like, I'm trying to make it seem like I got everything all together and that nothing's bothering me. But behind closed doors, when I'm in my cell at night, when I'm in confinement, healing with a broken leg, dog, knowing that I'm fighting for my life, that I may very well do like the rest of my adult life in prison if they HVO me, if they hit me with the PR, that, man, I may not come home till I'm 40 or 50 years old. And of course, man, for a while I was numb. But if you've been to jail, you've been to prison, you know the feeling waking up in the county jail the following morning after your alleged crime and your arrest, and just waking up like just praying and wishing that this would have been like a bad dream and a nightmare. But you wake up in that cold cell like disgusted. And I have countless experiences of all 3 times that I went to prison to where, man, I didn't even want to eat for weeks. You know what I mean? Just depressed and sick. But especially this third time, man, just numb to the pain to where I really wasn't dealing with it. I knew I was facing a lot of prison time. I knew I was going back up the road, back to prison. I knew I couldn't beat my case. So I was just angry. I was hurt. I was broken, and I was mad. Myself mainly. And I just remember that I really didn't deal with the pain until I went to go take my sentencing by the favor of God, because my whole case was, man, just all cap. You know what I mean? I never would intentionally try to gun down an officer with my vehicle and then hit him with my car. His leg, in my paperwork, it says that he had minor abrasions to his leg. Because what happened, from what other people were telling me, because I don't remember anything from the night because of the car accident, I lost my memory, I was drinking, blackout drunk, is that while I was driving, the officer was walking in front of the vehicle trying to stop me. And when he moved, I swerved the vehicle trying to get out the way, and I clipped his leg, barely hit him. But still, I could have got PRR'd, I could have got HVO'd, and I could have got hung. But by the favor and mercy of God, I only got 9 years. But I remember while I was like fighting my case during, this time in the county jail, which is only for 5 months, when I went to go accept my plea deal, that was the one and only plea. It was my lowest permissible points. It maxed out at 66 years, but I think because they knew that my case was like, crazy. I'm sure if like my attorney would have pulled like some camera footage or whatever, but he didn't want to he didn't want to invest. Want to like stir up the police officers to do any type of investigation. Like the best thing that we can do is take the lowest plea, the one and only plea deal that they gave me was my lowest points, and just take it and just got to eat it. So I had to eat the 9 years. I had to eat the 9-piece. So I remember I was numb to the pain. I was numb to the whole reality of the situation the entirety of the time while I was in the county jail until I went to go accept my plea deal. And I remember like whenever I went into the courtroom, I say like, okay, I'm guilty, whatever, you sign your paper, you get fingerprinted, you get convicted of your crime, and you get sentenced, you're sentencing. I remember just going back to my cell, and I'm in confinement at this time because I'm kind of wilding in the county. I'm pissed. I caught an outside charge, battery on detainee, which is a fellow, incarcerated individual, a fellow inmate, got in a fight. I'm in confinement, and I'm already, feel all the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm about to do 9 years. I'm only 23. My kids are 4 years old. I already know I'm about to miss the entirety of their childhood and their preteen years. But it hit me for the first time when I went back to my confinement cell that night. And I remember, for days, like the police, and the orderly, they're passing out the trays, feeding breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And because I'm in confinement, they just open the door and they put, the tray on the ground. I remember I wasn't even getting up out my bunk. They, every time they come back, they would pick up the tray that they left because I couldn't even eat. Like I was sick. And for the first time in my life, there's been other times, mainly only one other time in my life. But for the first time in my life, like genuinely, I was really contemplating about just, ending it all. And if any of you done time in county jails or prisons, you know stories of people taking their bed sheets and the sprinklers, the go-to move, and just ending it. As I was already in prison, going to prison for my third time at the age of 23, I felt like I couldn't get it right. I just felt so much shame and so much disgust within myself. And I was just at a really low place, man. And I remember that was the first time that my time hit me, and hit me hard, bro. And of course, 9 years is nothing compared to, a lot of my homies who got sentenced to life and with no parole, or people who've been sentenced to 25, 30, 40. I know plenty of guys who've done 21 years or 29 years day for day. I know them and they're out now. So I'm not saying that like 9 years is a boatload of time, but still for me as a 23-year-old young man, that was a lot of time. And it hit me. So the whole purpose why I share all this is because, whenever I seen that post today on Instagram of tears going down, Thug's face, Courtroom, and I felt for him, bro. Free Thug, of course, but I know that pain. Not specifically pertaining to his situation, but I know that pain of being in the courtroom and fighting your case. Of course, he's been fighting his case for a minute. I haven't gone through that situation to where I'm just prolonging my case and fighting for my life to the way that he is. But man, I know the feeling of having your family in the courtroom, looking over and seeing my mom crying. You know what I mean? Just because her son's going to prison again. And it hits you, in that courtroom. So anybody who had anything negative to say about Young Thug crying in the courtroom, bro, like, number one, you probably never face any time, probably may have never even been arrested. But for those who have done time or, been facing a lot of time or have been sentenced to a lot of time, they understand, man. So just the reason to share that is I wanted to expound upon what I seen today on Instagram and our social media, with, Young Thug, shedding tears in the courtroom. And there's nothing to be ashamed of with that, man. Real men or anybody who's truly in tune with themselves and know who they are as an individual, there's no shame in crying. There's nothing to be ashamed about, it being tapped in and attuned with your emotions. And if anything, I think it's more proud. I think it's all balding. I seen that. Out of all the comments I just responded to, I responded to the balding comment. I don't think I'm balding at all. I think that's really, if anything, true the definition of manhood, to where unashamedly, openly being able to express those emotions of the pain that he's going through. So that's all, man. I just want to hop on live and just talk about what I seen today with the viral Instagram post, Young Thug crying in court, Free Thug, praying for him. And I understand, I know the pain. So real quick, man, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide through the comments. Shout out everybody. Mac, what's going on, bro? Hey, what's going on, Dolphin State of Mind? What's going on, Brody? Mac, what's going on? Don Vito, your message got restricted. For real, Mac, fighting cases is draining. Sabrina, YSL, shout out to them. Bob, what's going on? What's going on, bro? Sabrina, what's going on? LA, Air France, hello from France, what's going on, bro? Bob, he said I remind you of John B. I've heard that before. Lavish, definitely not. I believe, pray that he didn't even go to prison. Sabrina, what's going on? Outdoorsman, do you wipe or let it crust? I don't understand what you mean by that. Dr. Idiot, he always played catch. He was the catcher. Oh my gosh. Yo, shout out to all the trolls in the comments, bro. I appreciate the trolls, man. All love. Richard Douglas, allegedly, facts. Rashina Ross, salute. Real name hidden. It was about Young Thug. I was talking about the principle about, him crying and, me crying as well. Baby Snaps, definitely not. Paperwork 100. Diamond Hood Girl. I'm not in jail or prison. This is my apartment. This is just like my little setup for my podcast. That's all prison memorabilia right there. Alex Smith. The Diddy comment, crazy. For real, real name hidden. You already know the feeling. Alvin Romero Ramos, say hippopotamus. Hippopotamus, dog. 9 at what percent in the state of Florida? That's 85%. So on a 9-piece, I did 7 years and 8 months, day for day. Save the woman, man. Save the woman, peace. What's going on, fam? Alvin Ramos. Man, that jail coffee is the best. You see that? That's that straight oil. If you know, you know. You saying like you know something. Save woman, peace. Alvin Ramos. How old was I when I got sentenced? I went to prison 3 times. I went to prison the first time when I was 18. That's when I got sentenced the first time. I went to prison again when I was 21. The second time, so I was sentenced when I was 21. And the third time I was sentenced when I was, I think, 24. I think I turned 24 in the county jail. I'm free. Saab Doogie. Alvin Ramos is going on. Joseph Jones, I just stopped by to say sup. Appreciate the support. Thomas Scarborough. I mean, I do think I am thinning up here for sure, but I don't think I'm balding. I'm praying that I don't go. Alvin Ramos, Mr. Don't understand what you mean. You're boycotting Coca-Cola. Why? For real, my dog said he cried over a 15-month sentence. You already know, bro. 1 day is too long, bro. 1 day is too long. Yaha, Tupac, Pablo Escobar, H.S. Wallace, what's up? Yubs, I see the cross. Christ is King. Chaz in Bahamas, shout out to y'all in the Bahamas. Yubs, Jesus does love us all. Facts. Goro Jerry, shout out. What's going on, fam? F on the first date. Have you ever been to room 40? I don't know what that means. CK South 6, I'm not currently incarcerated. Bad boy straight out of Compton, what's going on? Rodolfo, I'm not too smart. Well, I think I'm pretty intelligent. Argo, what's up? Yaha, yeah, go to jail. Ace, what's going on, fam? William Henry, what's going on, Brody? And Anasco, I appreciate the recommendation. So listen, I'm hopping off. I just wanted to hop on here real quick to talk about the whole Young Thug picture of him crying in the courtroom that was going viral. Once again, I'm completely with and supporting of any man outwardly showing emotions. And if you've been there, you know, man, I definitely cried multiple times throughout all my sentences, fighting my cases. Especially when you first get sentenced or you're fighting for your life, man, it's difficult, bro. So more of the story, God got huge purpose for all of us, and we only truly tap into that when we surrender our everything under King Jesus and live for his glory. Y'all stay encouraged, Forever Convict family. If you don't know, I am a rapper. My artist name is E.I. the King. You can listen to all my music on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to music. I also have another YouTube channel. YouTube is E.I. the King. I also have another podcast on that channel. It's called Let Me Talk, Bro. New single dropping next Friday. Y'all check it out. And what's going on, fam? Ben Wilcutt. Edit man, what's going on? So listen, man, until next time, love y'all, Forever Convict family. Y'all stay encouraged. Keep sharing your story to stay out of prison and jail. And may we empower the rest of society. They don't have to experience the same things that we went through. Till next time, y'all.